welcome to Tea with Wash. This is the segment where people get to ask me any kinds of questions they want. So we source them from everywhere in every place that we have friends, interested parties, donors, sponsors. And I'm sitting here with, who are you?
Antonella,
And
that's
what do
my
you
name.
do?
I'm the director of school operations and programming for the Boys and Girls Club.
That is a mouthful. I'm just the CEO here. And we are going to have some tea. I've got a fine kettle of water here. I'm going to pour you a cup. Make sure I don't burn you.
Perfect.
Oh, look at the steam coming off that. Wonderful. Let's see what I have in my mug. Seems a little fragrant. I'm going to take a sniff and share with you what we're having today. Oh, man. I'm picking up a little peppermint, spearmint, and tarragon, which is what I learned is a spice that is used in French and Chinese cuisine.
Mm. I'm getting a lot of, well, this tea is called passion. I'm getting peach, I'm getting mango, very tropical flavors and scents. So I'm excited and definitely want to take a vacation soon.
I would love a vacation, but we must work. So I am the person here who is in what we like to call the tea hot seat. So whenever you're ready to start, I'm going to have a sip of my tea and get prepared for this
Yeah,
onslaught.
replenish your palate. This is going to get intense. How are you feeling today?
I
First of
feel
all,
great. I actually got a full night's rest for
that's good.
not many days in a row. So this was great coming out of Sunday into Monday. And I'm excited. The sun's shining. What can be better?
Beautiful. So let's get started. Our first question is, how do you stay grounded and confident, especially when you're feeling misunderstood?
That's a good question. So for me, what I like to think about is how many times I need to say something to someone before they understand me. So I think one of the downsides of being a CEO is that you're always moving, you're always doing stuff, you're going to events, you're talking to different people, and you'll say something to your team members, people that you work with, and you'll think automatically, I said that clearly, perfectly, they get it. And what I like to do is rather than kind of, have judgment about whether they get it or not, or if they should have, I like to re-explain it and say, hey, are we on the same page? Are we aligned with this? And that gives an opportunity for them to say, no, I actually heard this, but I don't remember the other part. And I think that's a great opportunity for us to reconnect.
I love that. Thank you for that.
My pleasure.
Um, my follow-up question is, what is one leadership mistake that you have made that has taught you a big lesson?
Forget about the past. I think one of the things that happened for me when I first became CEO was that this organization was already 80 years old, right? And so I'm thinking about all the things that could go wrong, that might not work. And we came into a very interesting moment where we were engaged in a merger conversation with another organization. The organization had gone through financial challenges for many years prior to, and I was like, I don't want to mess this up. And so I was fearful about what I ought to do and how I ought to do it. But I got some great advice from a guy named Pat. He just said, look, just forget about your expenses, the middle line, focus on raising as much money as you can. And if you can raise 20% more than what your goal is, doesn't matter if expenses go up by 5% or if you happen to have to spend more on this, you can always be comforted that you're doing all the right things on the top line. So that was some of the best advice I got because I didn't feel as confident as I should have going into the role, knowing what I knew about the organization.
So you would say your biggest mistake was your lack of confidence in the beginning.
Lack of confidence, and not so much the lack of confidence, but worrying about the past that
Mm,
messed with my confidence. So it's like
got
when
it.
you're stepping into the role that my mentor held, and people that I knew that I respected, they did great things, and then some things that didn't go so well. And so I was around for all of that, having been a part of the organization for so long. So it's like, how can I not mess up? And so rather than worrying about messing up, worrying about how can I be more successful than anyone ever, right? And then taking that road on focusing on raising the money as opposed to worrying about how to manage or lose money. And so once
Nice.
I got over that part, everything kind of fell into place, I think.
Kind of like a half full kind of
Have full,
cup.
exactly.
I love that.
Me too.
My last question is, did you always know you wanted to be a CEO? Yes or no?
ACO, yes.
Mm.
Of the Boys and Girls Club of Newark, no.
Oh.
So I always tell this story because it was something like I love cars. My favorite car growing up was a Lamborghini Diablo in like royal blue. And I used to have this magazine and I would look at it all the time. That was my dream car, and I still plan to buy one someday. But I knew I wanted to be a car salesman when I was a kid, and then I wanted to be rich.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't really thinking about necessarily how to become rich.
Right.
I just knew I wanted money because I grew up poor. And so I was the CEO of my own publishing company. I published some books. And so that was fun to really learn about how business worked from a different perspective than, say, Boys and Girls Clubs.
Right.
But I knew at some point in my career, which was probably the last couple years before becoming CEO, that the next logical step for me, being in development and fundraising, would be CEO. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to see if my ideas and the things I thought could and would work to help the organization be the best it could be for the young people we serve. And so it's been a wonderful nearly 6 years. It'll be 6 years on October 26th this year. And I always like to tell people I came in 5 months before COVID. So I had a merger, I had COVID,
Wow.
and we've weathered the storm, in my opinion. We're doing great. We have wonderful people like you who work here and people that care about young people.
And so, what was really the switch for you that said, you know what, instead of being CEO of a car company or
Mhm.
salesman, why not go back to the Boys and Girls Club? What was that switch for you?
For me, I mean, I when I came back home from school, I went to business school. I majored in economics. What I was interested in wasn't what, and this I can blame this person a little bit. My senior seminar instructor was talking about putting on faces, kind of faking it until you making it,
Mm,
stabbing people in the back to get where you needed to go,
yeah.
and that didn't appeal to me as a concept. I wasn't raised that way. I was raised to support people, to help people, to serve as much as possible. And so I came back home and got back into this work, and I never really left. I came back every summer. But what made me want to do this long term was that it's right in my neighborhood where I grew up. It's something that helped me when I was a young person. And so, how can you pay the things that you receive forward? No better way than where you grew up, where you were a young member, and seeing young people kind of come into the space that you used to live in with your friends and your brothers and sisters, and give them an even better experience in some ways than I had. And so, nothing was better than that from the time I came back from school till today, quite frankly.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure. So, I would like to thank you all for tuning in to the first episode segment of Tea with Wash. If you have a question that you'd like me to answer about business, about being a CEO, nonprofits, or anything under the sun, personal or otherwise, as long as it makes sense to me, I'll answer it. Have a cup of tea, feels good and warm. Enjoy.